Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening. The fourth wave of COVID-19 is hitting Saskatchewan and Alberta hard. And as Jace Mackey reports, health officials are warning the community about the seriousness of the situation in the border city.
We're dealing with a serious situation, and this situation has the potential to overwhelm acute care services.
That warning comes from the medical health officer of the health zone that includes Lloydminster. Uncontrolled community transmission of COVID-19 has been on the rise in our region over the last few weeks.
The daily number of new cases went from 12 a few weeks ago to 60 today, at least during the week ending September 20th. The daily number of active cases went from 81 to 633, and the test positivity rate went from 15.1% to 24.4%.
The majority of the new cases in the Northwest are from Lloydminster. The Delta variant is the dominant strain, impacting mostly the unvaccinated, with 82% of the cases in the first half of the month being unvaccinated people.
Of the 383 active cases that we had on September 22nd, 210 of them were in Lloydminster, followed by North Battleford and Meadow Lake.
Lloydminster Hospital is dealing with a serious situation, sitting fourth in the province for most COVID patients in hospital, and with no ICU in the border city, patients are being sent to larger centers if needed.
Lloydminster Hospital is under a very big pressure.
The Saskatchewan Health Authority is hopeful that the new proof of vaccination rules will increase the vaccination rate across the province, and in the meantime, they encourage masking and distancing in public places. For Primetime Local News, I'm Jace Mackey.
With October 1st and the Saskatchewan government's proof of vaccination requirement fast approaching, now is the time to make sure you have your proof of vaccination.
This will include venues that bring groups of people together in public spaces, including indoor dining at restaurants, nightclubs, bars, taverns, events like entertainment venues such as conference centers, casinos, movie theaters, concert venues, live music venues, museums, and facilities that host ticketed sporting events.
The proof of vaccination or negative test policy was announced on September 16th to address rising case counts in the province. In order to view your COVID-19 vaccination record, you must log into your MySask Health account. You can use the card you received at the time of your immunization as well. There is some establishments across the province and the city of Lloydminster where this won't be required.
Proof of vaccination will not be required for several publicly accessible places, such as retail businesses, including our grocery stores, places of worship, fast food restaurants that offer takeout and delivery, healthcare services that people would require, professional services that people also require, as well as personal services.
Children under the age of 12 are exempt from the proof of vaccination and the negative test. The Saskatchewan COVID-19 vaccination record is able to be printed and can be saved on a mobile device. Dogs from across Canada took their skills to new heights this weekend, as Tate Lakecraft has more on this year's Harvest Canine Games.
Yeah! Good girl!
Hosted by Flatlands Kennels, this year's Harvest Canine Games open the opportunity for dogs and owners alike to jump, chase, and splash.
So we get people who don't really know what their dog might like, and they are like, hey, I heard about your event and I want to come and kind of see if my dog's interested in any of these things, and maybe we'll come back for further lessons or seminars in the future.
The event featured 8 sports, ranging from wall climb and dock diving to weight pull and rat finding. But what really makes the games unique is its level of inclusivity.
Most of the events that are run like this are run through sanctioned organizations. So generally the dogs would have to be purebred animals or registered animals. So to have an event like this where anyone can come with any dog, even a reactive dog, we're all very dog savvy people. If you have a hard time with your dog out in the public, you can bring it to this kind of event and try these sports out.
For mixed breed dogs like Caslow, who traveled all the way from Burnaby for the games, that means she can try something new.
So this is a great opportunity to try something for the very first time. Today, as I said, we'll be trying dock diving for the first time, and we just did the lure coursing this morning. So there's something for every dog, something for every breed, for every sport level.
For Primetime Local News Lloydminster, I'm Tate Lakecraft.
It's time now for this week's retrospect. Here's Blake Nath.
This week in retrospect, hot dog. Back in '91, local dog breeders compete to prove they have the prime pedigree.
Now lie back. Take it easy. Relax. Who's that over there? Would you look at that haircut? It's a dog's life. What's happening? Why, it's the Lloydminster Dog Show. The only place in town where you can hear 100 barking dogs and not one shut up. No nasty words for these special breeds. And like a luxury spa, you even have the indoor jogging track. But on the serious side, these dog owners are preparing to show the best of their breeds. Breeder Andy Bowden says a lot of time and effort goes into each animal, and the floor routines are set to show off the dog's best traits.
The judge is looking for the way in which each individual dog conforms to the breed standard in their mind's eye. So they have a picture of what a German Shepherd is looking like, and the dog that they choose for best of breed is the one that most represents that picture in their mind.
And in '96, local students participate in a mock accident as a training exercise for first responders.
Imagine a school bus crashing into a truck. Of the 32 students inside, some are dead, others with varying degrees of injury, including shock.
They're gonna die! They're gonna die! Get out there! Out there!
The people in the truck also dead and stuck in and under the vehicle. Well, today's horrific crash was just a test, but RCMP say it's not too hard to imagine.
It can happen very easily. We haven't had that many in the province, thank goodness, over the last few years, but there's nothing that says that it can't happen, especially at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 3:30 in the afternoon where the kid's getting out of school.
And it's because of this very real possibility that emergency personnel from 4 northwestern Saskatchewan health districts decided to stage this disaster.
It would be negligent of us as health service providers and emergency responders not to be prepared for an event like this. We all hope that it never does happen. However, training in this regard ensures that appropriate response will be given.
And that's all for this week in retrospect.
Retrospect this week is brought to you by Webb's Ford. Worth your while to drive the extra mile. Webb's Ford in Vermilion.
Now Jace Mackey will take a first look at this week's weather.
Well, thanks a lot, Jasmine. It was a nice day here in the border city. We started off the week fairly well. It's going to probably be one of the warmest days that we're going to see this week right now. We're sitting at 25 degrees here in Lloydminster. Not too windy, winds coming in at 21 kilometers an hour. Taking a look now at temperatures across central Alberta. Pretty standard across the board. As I mentioned, 25 here in Lloydminster, 21 up in Cold Lake, 22 in Athabasca, 23 in the capital city, 19 in Whitecourt, 20 in Edson, 17 out in Jasper, 23 in Rocky Mountain House. As we take a look now into the Saskatchewan side, temperatures get a lot warmer as we head south, more south, so 24 in Meadow Lake and Prince Albert, 26 in Melfort, 28 in Saskatoon, and 27 in North Battleford. Continuing on with North Battleford, we're going to take a look at what you guys can expect overnight. So things will cool down to about 10 degrees and warm up to about daytime high of 26 tomorrow in North Battleford. There's also a chance that you might see some scattered showers throughout the day tomorrow in North Battleford. Taking a look now at Cold Lake. Similar story, 21 degrees right now, cooling down to 7 degrees. And a little cooler day, 19 degrees for the daytime high tomorrow in Cold Lake. Taking a look now at the next 3 days here in the border city. Nice temperatures continuing on store. So tomorrow it'll be a cloudier day with a high of 21 degrees, a low of 9. And the sun comes out for Wednesday and Thursday as we see a daytime high of 18 degrees on Wednesday, low of 7, and 23 degrees on Thursday. So that's your first look at weather. We'll have an extended look later on in the show, and we'll have more primetime local news after the break.
Welcome back. CanFax Research is looking for producers to join their cost of production network. Jillian Code has the details.
Today on Primetime Local News, I'm joined by Brenna Grant. She is a manager of CanFax Research Services. They're an organization that's dedicated to providing statistics and market research to the Canadian beef industry. So Brenna, you guys are looking for producers to join your cost of production network. Could you maybe just tell me a bit about what the cost of production network is?
So in a nutshell, the short version is that the Cost of Production Network provides benchmarks for cow-calf producers based on different production systems across Canada. And more expansively, we have 5 overarching objectives. First is we wanted to provide national coverage from British Columbia to Prince Edward Island. Second is we wanted to reduce response burden. The model that we're using really focuses on the structure of the baseline farms, knowing that a lot of the input prices and output prices we can get from secondary data sources, provincial averages, in order to index historically and going forward for 5 years. So after collecting data from producers in year 1, we're actually not going to come back and update for 5 years. Which really reduces the data entry and reporting for producers. Third is having a standardized methodology. We've had cost of production in Canada before at a provincial level, but many of the provincial programs have had differences in methodology. And those differences were for very good reasons. They had different objectives to accomplish in their program, and therefore made methodology choices that supported those objectives. But one of the things with this model is it not only allows us to compare from province to province, but it also provides something that is standardized internationally and is going to allow us to be part of an international network and have an apple-to-apple comparisons with other production systems around the world.
And what benefit would this network provide to producers who seek out this data?
So the big thing is the third objective, which is learning in community. So we have a number of resources available, and one of them is a 2020 summary where you see all of the different production systems. And really, instead of having, there's lots of different benchmarks out there, and there's different benchmarks that do different things. When you compare against your own farm year to year, that's about seeing progress against yourself. But we really wanted to see possibilities. And that's what we're wanting to provide producers, is when they go in and see that 2020 summary with all these different production systems, some that are the same as them, some that are a wee bit different, some that are very different, that they can say, ooh, that's a possibility I hadn't considered before that might work on my operation in my environment.
So you are looking for producers to join the cost of production network. What kind of producers are you guys looking for?
Everyone. The great thing about this is that you only need 5 to 6 producers of a similar production system to actually come together and create a benchmark. We're doing everything in focus groups. And so we're looking for producers specifically with larger herds. So over 400 head, we had a great participation in this last year with herds less than 400 head. So specifically a call out to those large herds. But we're looking for everyone. If you feed byproducts, if you do year-round grazing, basically all are invited to sign up. If we don't have enough producers to make a focus group this coming year in 2022, we will keep producers' names on the list to see if more of that production system sign up next year. So we do have some that we weren't able to match up into focus groups this last year that we're hoping to find some other producers that have similar production systems. We do have a gap, though, in Alberta that we would like to fill, specifically in the southeast of Alberta. So the light brown and the brown soil zones. If we could get 2 to 3 production systems from that region, I think it would be really beneficial to the network.
Well, Brenna, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about this today.
You bet. Have a great day.
Farmers are wrapping up their harvest, and after one hot, dry summer, many producers' yields are not looking so great. CTV's Tyler Barrow reports.
Grain producer Kevin Hirsch's chickpeas are going from his truck to the bin. He says this yield was less than 1/3 of normal.
This is the worst crop since 1988, and in many ways this was a worse year than 1988.
The province has dealt with hot and dry conditions and minimal moisture, and because of those conditions, the Agriculture Producers Association of Saskatchewan says the overwhelming majority of members are reporting below average yields.
There are areas of the province where yields were 10 to 15% of average, and in some cases not even worth harvesting.
Estimating province-wide a 30 to 40% decrease, many unable to fulfill their contracts to grain companies.
They're looking at significant penalties for buying out of these contracts.
And for farmers like Kevin Hirsch, he says the pain won't end in 2021 as he expects high fertilizer and seed prices as well as prolonged damage from the hot and dry weather.
When you look at very little soil moisture and the large investment you'll need to make into growing next year's crop, that becomes worrisome.
Ag Recovery was launched a few weeks ago to help livestock producers, and there have been modifications to the Agri-Stability Program, which APAS says will help some producers.
It's going to take a coordinated effort from all levels of government and the industry to help producers get through this.
Tyler Barrow, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Now we'll take a look at your egg prices. Now on the ice, the NHL is in the midst of preseason games. Jace Mackey and Evan Kenny sat down ahead of the season discussing improved teams, superstar players, and everything in between.
Well, on Sunday night, the NHL got back after it, starting their preseason games ahead of the October 12th start date of the regular season. Joining me to talk a little bit more about this is our sports reporter, Evan Kenny. Evan, thanks for taking this time.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Jace. Obviously, super exciting with an NHL season coming back.
Yeah, it's exciting to have hockey back, and on Sunday, the Edmonton Oilers beat Calgary 4-0 in their first preseason game, but preseason games, they don't mean too much, eh?
Jace, that is exactly it. Now, obviously, the preseasons for these games, for these players, rather, to get back into game shape, well, quite a few players aren't even playing thus far into the exhibition season, haven't really gotten into the full swing of things. Just for example, Jace, in that 4-0 Edmonton Oilers win over the Calgary Flames, Connor McDavid didn't play, Leon Draisaitl didn't play, Johnny Gaudreau or Matthew Tkachuk didn't play for the Calgary Flames. So it's a lot of newer guys and guys, who might be on the fringe of an everyday type of player. Glenn Gaudin, who is a great prospect for the Calgary Flames, actually led all forwards in the game in ice time with just over 19 minutes. So while it is for these players to get back into the swing of things, it's not the regular season, to say the least, Jace.
Okay, so now shifting things towards that regular season, last year COVID affected things, so there was only 56 games last year and they were played, within the division, and the divisions look different too, so how are things going to look this year?
Yeah, Jace, well, just starting things off, teams will be playing against all the teams throughout the league. We will still see those games within the division, 26 games within the division to be exact. And for the divisions, just while we're on this topic, they will be looking a little different than last year. There's no more Scotia North. There's no more West, East, and Central. There's now sort of back to those typical East and Western conferences. The Arizona Coyotes will be leaving the Pacific Division and will be going into the Central Division. Now, taking Arizona's spot in the Pacific Division will be the Seattle Kraken. So now each division will have 8 teams in it. But Jace, things are looking, like a normal year. There will be about a 2-week break in February due to the Olympics. But besides that, just a normal 82-game season this year.
So October 12th, that's the date everything kicks off. You said 82-game season. What team do you think is going to make the most improvement this season compared to last?
Well, Jace, I'm not necessarily saying they'll be the best team, but I definitely think they will be improved over their 19-30-7 record from last season. And that's the New Jersey Devils. They saw what they needed to add throughout this offseason. And they did that. They're also a very, very, very young team, Jace, with just one of their forwards in Thomas Tatar being over 30 years old. Only one of their D-man in PK Subban is also over that 30-year-old range. So they are a very young team who's really just coming into their own with players like Jack Hughes, like Nico Hischier. These guys are only, 23 years old at the oldest. So they're really just continuing to develop. Plus, they added a couple of key defensemen to that team. Number one being Dougie Hamilton. He can lead a team offensively, lead a power play. I think he will be a huge change for that back end. And then from more of a defensive side, Ryan Graves, previously with the Colorado Avalanche, really responsible in his own end, also being added there. Those two guys will be a huge help for this back end, help develop guys like, Lloydminster's own Ty Smith. So, Jace, I think the New Jersey Devils will be an improved team, but maybe not quite a playoff team.
Now, Evan, I know that you're a fantasy guy. So Connor McDavid, he really tore up the league last year. He had 33 goals and more than 70 assists, and it was a shortened season as well. So who do you think is really going to light up the league this year?
Well, Jace, I think there's always that possibility that Connor McDavid or, potential line mate Leon Draisaitl could do it. I'm going to leave them off my list just for this discussion now, but obviously, these two players could easily do it. Two guys that I have on my list are Nikita Kucherov and Mikko Rantanen. Now, each of these two players are dynamic offensively, Jace. Nikita Kucherov, we haven't seen him in the regular season really for 2 years here now, but while he was in the playoffs, he put up 34 and 32 points in the 2019-20 and the 2020-21 playoffs. So that in 25 and 23 games, he was absolutely electric there. Jace, the last time we saw Nikita Kucherov in a full 82-game season, he put up 128 points. So I don't think we should rule him out of this fantasy conversation. And then Mikko Rantanen, he's a younger guy, but obviously, he's playing on a line with Nathan MacKinnon, who, in my opinion, is hands down the second best player in the NHL, trailing just behind Connor McDavid. So anytime you can play on that good of a line, I think that'll help. Plus, he's been a point-per-game NHL player and doing that very, very low-key. He put up 30 goals in last year's shortened season. I don't see why he couldn't be able to do that, plus a little extra in this full 82-game season.
Well, thank you so much, Evan, for taking some time to talk with us about hockey. It's great to have hockey back, and it should be an exciting season ahead.
Yeah, exciting to say the least. Thank you, Jace.
Now, Jace Mackey will take another look at your weather.
Thanks a lot, Jasmine. Starting off right now, we're going to take a look at our satellite and radar map, but there's not too much to see right now as it's been a pretty warm and dry day across our region. But tomorrow we may have some rain in store around the North Battleford area, possibly throughout the day tomorrow. Taking a look now at temperatures right now across Alberta, 22 degrees up in Cold Lake, Bonnyville, 23 in St. Paul, 21 in Lac La Biche, 23 Edmonton, 25 in Vegreville, 26 in Vermilion, 25 here in Lloydminster. Down as we get to the southern part of Alberta, things really warm up, 28 in Provost, 28 in Wainwright. So as we take a look now into Saskatchewan, we can see those temperatures pretty consistent. Colder up at the top, warmer as we head down to the southern part of Saskatchewan. So 17 up in Alacross, 22 in Green Lake and Pearceland, 24 in Meadow Lake, 23 in St. Walburg, 26 in Maidstone, 28 in Macklin, and 27 right now in North Battleford. So pretty warm day across our region today. A nice start to the week, and those temperatures should continue now as we take a look at what we can see overnight tonight across our region. Things really start to cool down. So that's when we're at this time of year where things are pretty warm throughout the day, get cold as we head into the evening. So 6 degrees overnight in Meadow Lake, Muirnam, Provost, and Pearceland, 10 degrees overnight in Alacross and Unity, 7 in Bonnyville, Paradise Hill, and Wainwright. Now, for the day tomorrow, like I was saying, it's one of those days where you wake up, it's cold, you want to wear your jacket, but by the time you get home, you're thinking, maybe I should have worn shorts. So for the school day forecast, we see starting off the day, 10 degrees. Around recess time, we'll warm up to 14. By lunch, 18, and around the end of the day, it'll be cloudy, but 20 degrees. As we take a look at temperatures across our region tomorrow, we're seeing a warm day in store, but not as warm as today. So 16 in Lac La Biche and Edmonton, as well as Vegreville, 20 degrees in Cold Lake, Pearceland, Alacross, 24 in Green Lake, 22 in Meadow Lake and St. Walburg, 21 here in the border city, and 26 down in North Battleford. So pretty consistent temperatures across Alberta and Saskatchewan for your day tomorrow. Taking a look at extended look at your 7-day forecast here, 21 degrees and some cloud coverage is what we have in store tomorrow here in the border city, but the sun really comes out on Wednesday where we have a high of 18 degrees, a low of 7. Things warm up even more on Thursday as we have a high of 23 degrees. Cloud coverage comes out as we head into Friday, but we will be seeing a high of 21. And then sun as we head into your weekend, start your next week. 19 degrees is your high on Saturday, 21 on Sunday, and starting off your next week with a high of 20. So that's a look at your 7-day forecast. Stay with us. We'll have more news after the break.
Today, I'm joined by Sarah Makins from Fame Dance Studio to talk about her fashion show coming up this weekend featuring designs from Stanley Carroll. So what can people expect from the show this weekend?
So every year we work with a designer in Edmonton called Stanley Carroll. He has been designing for, about 30 years in Edmonton. Really well known and really, really cool designs, really creative, funky sort of looks for ladies and fellows. And we would do about 2 projects every year with him, including Western Canadian Fashion Week. And we just wanted to be COVID safe this year because we were worried that things would get shut down, and sure enough, they did. So we planned a private fashion show, a filming. And with our dance as well, we have switched over to film so that more people can access it. But also if there are shutdowns and everybody's trying to be safe, we're able to really nicely film whatever our project is, and then more audience in the end can see it.
And you had mentioned that you won't be having a very large audience. Do you think that will have any impact on your students' performance?
There's pros and cons. The first is these dancers and models have now gotten used to 2 years worth of a camera. So they used to always have audiences of, 50 to 10,000, right? We would take them to large venues, big venues, tiny, medium sized, etc. So for 2 years, they are aware that everybody is watching them through a camera. So to have even a tiny audience that all has to be masked and, separated properly is a huge joy, an absolutely huge joy. And it is all of our relatives as it is, but they are even very, very excited to finally be able to come and see something live.
And in times like this, when there's a lot of new restrictions coming out, why do you think it's so important to still find ways to work around the restrictions and pretty much do what you're doing right now?
Critical for audience and performers alike. Performers heal themselves through healing others. And a lot of my choreography has to do with getting the mind out of boxes, being kind to each other, seeing through reality, not listening to what other people tell us, to be yourself. So I have a lot of messages in my choreographies, and it really helps the models and dancers themselves in their own lives to participate in these things. But they get such a thrill for showing that then to others. So any way that we can continue doing it to show an audience, we're doing a series about mental health through our RU Evolution Dance Company and Frame Dance Productions. And it is a series of short films. Same idea. We've moved all our theatrical performances to film. So the models and dancers feel so good in themselves performing these things, and then having anybody else view it and to know that someone might be helped by watching an image or listening to a line of a lyric that tells us how to be ourselves and how to be kind to others, and, you know, not listen blindly, right? It's just a really beautiful, energetic 360 to send it out and to get it back.
And are you going to be live streaming the show, or will there be video copies sent out after?
We are going to video it. We're going to put it on our YouTube channel. We're going to put it on our Instagram accounts. So we have several. Stanley Carroll has his. And then throughout the year, we're going to have little clips showing this was an angle of the show. The full show presented from different perspectives. So we're also excited to bring a variety of different photographers and videographers that will be shooting it from different angles. So we're kind of going to do a media storm so that everybody can enjoy and just say whatever you shot that day, off you go, post it to your social media, including Stanley's and Fame Dance Studios. And then, yeah, a number of people hopefully can see it and enjoy it.
And then where would people be able to see or find these videos after you post them?
For sure. So my personal Instagram is Sarah, so SARAH, then the letter C.R.Makins. They'll be posted there. They will be posted on Stanley Carroll on his Instagram as well. They will be on Fame Dance Studios. So those three would be the first to search for sure. And yeah, we hope everyone enjoys them.